On a chilly November morning in 2027, the air at Fort Hamilton Naval Base in Virginia carried a sharp edge, the kind that made you pull your jacket tighter. Eleanor Thompson, a 56-year-old woman with graying hair tucked into a neat bun, walked toward the main gate. Her faded sneakers crunched against the gravel, and in her hands, she held a small bouquet of white lilies and a worn leather wallet. To anyone passing by, she looked like any other middle-aged woman, jeans a bit frayed, jacket patched at the elbows, her face lined with quiet resolve. Nothing about her screamed remarkable, but Eleanor wasn't here for attention. She was here to honor someone she'd lost long ago. The glass doors of the security checkpoint slid open with a soft hiss, and Eleanor stepped into the hum of military precision radio chatter, the faint beep of scanners, the steady rhythm of boots on tile. She paused, her eyes flicking over the setup. 2 scanning stations, cameras angled just so, reinforced glass separating the public from the secure zone. It was different from her last visit years ago, but the bones of the place felt familiar, like an old song she hadn't heard in decades. Behind the desk sat Caleb Turner, a 24-year-old guard with a crisp uniform and a cocky grin. Caleb was the kind of guy who'd never faced real trouble. His biggest battles were paperwork mix-ups or the occasional grumpy visitor. His phone, propped beside his keyboard, was his real passion, a gateway to his growing online following. He was always chasing the next viral moment, and today, with the afternoon dragging, he was itching for something to spice up his feed. Eleanor approached, clearing her throat softly. "Excuse me," she said, her voice steady but quiet. "I'd like to visit the memorial garden. I have my ID here." From her wallet, she pulled a faded card, its plastic yellowed, the photo of a younger Eleanor barely visible. The card looked ancient, dated 1992, edges smooth from years of handling, lamination cracked like old glass. Caleb's eyebrows shot up. He'd seen old IDs, but this was practically a relic. His first thought was that she'd grabbed it from some dead relative's drawer, or maybe she was just confused. "Ma'am," he said, his tone dripping with patience he didn't feel. "This card's older than me. You sure you're in the right place? This thing's from the 90s. He held it up, smirking, already reaching for his phone. This was gold, exactly the kind of quirky encounter his followers would eat up. Eleanor noticed his hand on the phone and felt a familiar knot in her chest. Not fear, but the sinking realization she was about to become a punchline. "It's still valid," she said firmly, her eyes locking onto his. There was a quiet authority in her voice, but Caleb was too busy framing the shot to notice. He hit record, his live stream kicking off with a dozen viewers. "All right, folks," he said, grinning at the camera, "we've got a situation here. Lady's got an ID from, what, 1992? Older than half my audience." Laughing emojis popped up, and the viewer count ticked higher. Eleanor stood there, lilies trembling slightly in her grip, as Caleb held the card up for the camera. "Chat, should I even bother scanning this fossil? I'd rather you didn't record me," Eleanor said, her voice calm but edged with dignity. "Just check the clearance, please." Her request was simple, but to Caleb, it sounded like someone squirming. His grin widened. "She says check the clearance, like this antique's gonna work," he told his viewers, now at 25 and climbing. The comments rolled in jokes about her age, her clothes, her fake ID. Some urged him to humor her, others called her sketchy. A few viewers typed that this felt wrong, but their words drowned in the flood of mockery. Eleanor's eyes flicked to the phone screen, catching the venom. "Boot her out. She's scamming. This is painful." Each word stung, but she straightened her spine, the lilies a reminder of why she was here. As Caleb's audience grew to 50, then 80, he leaned into the drama, typing a quick message to his buddies. "Going live with a weird one. Check it out." His excitement was palpable, the kind of rush you get when you know you're onto something big. He adjusted the phone to catch both himself and Eleanor, his voice taking on a showman's flair. "Guys, this is unscripted gold. Lady with a prehistoric ID thinks she's getting onto a naval base." The comments turned uglier. "Fake veteran. She's playing the widow card." Eleanor saw it all, and for the first time in years, she felt the raw vulnerability of being judged by strangers who knew nothing about her. "I'm not causing trouble," she said, her voice steady but laced with sorrow. "I just want to honor my husband at the memorial." Caleb pounced. Now she's bringing up her husband, he said to the camera, his tone implying she was fishing for sympathy. Classic move, right? The comments exploded. Manipulation 101. Don't fall for it. The stream had a life of its own now, viewers feeding off each other's cruelty. Eleanor recognized the mob mentality, studied it during her years in protective services. This wasn't just entertainment. It was a glimpse into how quickly people could turn vicious when shielded by a screen. Her heart ached, not just for herself, but for a world that normalized this. Another guard, Ethan Brooks, wandered over, drawn by the noise. He'd gotten Caleb's text, but hadn't watched the stream yet. Seeing Eleanor standing there, dignified despite the mockery, he felt uneasy. "What's going on?" he asked quietly. Caleb, buzzing with adrenaline, gestured at Eleanor. "Old lady with a fake ID trying to sneak in. I'm streaming it, check the numbers." His phone showed 120 viewers now, a personal record. Ethan frowned, looking from Eleanor's patient stance to the lilies in her hand. "Maybe call a supervisor," he suggested. "This is getting out of hand." But Caleb was too far gone. "Nah, this is too good," he said, eyes glued to the climbing viewer count. Eleanor's patience was wearing thin, but her training kept her steady. "Some IDs don't expire," she said, her voice cutting through Caleb's chatter. There was a weight to her words, a hint of something deeper, but Caleb missed it, too caught up in his moment. The stream hit 200 viewers, and the comments were a blur of excitement and cruelty. Then Eleanor did something that shifted the air. She placed her card on the scanner, pressing it down firmly. "One more time," she said, her tone commanding. "And everyone needs to watch closely." The scanner hummed for what felt like forever, 10 seconds of silence that stretched into eternity. The viewer count surged past 300, and the comments turned curious. "Why is it taking so long? She's too calm for a liar." Caleb's cocky grin faltered. "Guys, I don't know what's happening," he said, his voice cracking. "The machine's doing something weird." Eleanor stood like a statue, her breathing even, her eyes scanning the room with the precision of someone who'd faced far worse than a live stream. "Sometimes," she said softly, "systems need time to pull up very old, very important files." Lieutenant Sarah Carter, drawn by the commotion, approached. She caught Eleanor's words and felt a chill. In her 12 years of service, she'd learned to spot people who carried weight beyond their appearance, and Eleanor was ringing every alarm in her head. "Ma'am, what do you mean by important files?" Sarah asked cautiously. Eleanor met her gaze. "You'll see, Lieutenant," she said, her use of Sarah's rank carrying a casual authority that made the room feel smaller. Then the scanner flared to life. Text no one had ever seen scrolled across the screen, accessing archived records. Credential type, legacy authorization. Clearance level, processing. Caleb stared, his commentary dying. "I've never seen this," he muttered, his voice barely audible over the stream. Sarah leaned in, her eyes narrowing. "Legacy authorization? I've been here a decade and never heard that term." The screen cycled through more messages. Accessing classified database. Verifying biometric data. Confirming active status. The checkpoint went quiet, the tension thick enough to choke on. Suddenly, every system in the building went dark. Screens, lights, radios, everything. For 3 seconds, the silence was absolute, broken only by Caleb's shaky whisper into his phone. "Guys, everything just died." This is freaky. The stream, now at 400 viewers, showed nothing but darkness, but the audio captured the collective held breath of everyone present. Then, like a thunderclap, every screen blazed on, blinding everyone with a golden eagle emblem, its eyes piercing through the monitors. Below it, in bold text, Presidential Protection Detail. Lifetime authorization. Clearance level, Sigma 9. Immediate notification required. The base erupted. Sirens wailed, red lights spun, and a computerized voice boomed. "Attention, Presidential Protection Clearance confirmed. Security Condition Alpha. All department heads, report to command immediately." This is not a drill. Caleb's phone shook in his hands as the viewer count skyrocketed 1,000, then 3,000, then 5,000. His stream was going viral, and he was falling apart. "Oh my God," he whispered. "What have I done?" Eleanor stood unmoved, her posture now radiating a quiet power that made everyone else seem small. My name is Eleanor Thompson, she said, her voice slicing through the chaos. Presidential Protection Detail, Service Record 8923. I need to speak with your base commander now. Sarah grabbed her radio, her hands trembling. Command, this is Carter at Main Security. We have a PPD clearance at the gate. We need the commander immediately. The radio crackled with disbelief. Say again? Presidential protection? Within minutes, Captain Lauren Hayes arrived, her face a mix of awe and confusion. The screen still blazed with Eleanor's clearance, and Lauren knew she was outranked by someone whose authority reached levels she'd never touched. Eleanor Thompson, she said, her voice reverent. The Eleanor Thompson. Eleanor nodded. Captain, she said simply, acknowledging Lauren's rank, but making it clear they were equals. Caleb's world collapsed in real time, his sobs broadcast to nearly 10,000 viewers. Ma'am, I'm so sorry, he cried. I didn't know. I've ruined everything. Eleanor walked to him, her lily still in hand, and spoke with a clarity that silenced the room. Caleb, look at me, she said, waiting until his tear-filled eyes met hers. I came here to honor friends who died for this country, not to shame you. But you turned my visit into a spectacle. You judged me by my clothes, my age, my ID, and you let thousands of strangers do the same. Everyone watching needs to hear this. The people who serve don't always look like you expect. They're not always young, not always in uniform. Sometimes they're just quiet folks with old cards and flowers for the fallen. The stream ended, but the fallout was immediate. The video hit 3 million views in a day, sparking outrage and admiration. Caleb was suspended, his name now tied to disrespecting a hero. He deleted his accounts, unable to face the hate. Eleanor, thrust back into the spotlight, became a symbol of unrecognized service. Veterans groups tried to honor her, but her classified past kept her story veiled. The hashtag #HonorEleanor trended, with millions sharing stories of quiet heroes. 3 days later, Eleanor asked to meet Caleb privately. In a small room, she faced a broken young man. I'm not angry, she said, her voice steady. But your assumptions turn my private grief into public cruelty. That's what you need to fix. She took him to the memorial wall, placing her lilies at the base. This is Daniel Lee, 20, she said, pointing to a name. This is Anna Patel, 23. They died so you could make your videos. Respect that. Caleb, tears streaming, asked, how do I make this right? Eleanor's answer was simple. Be better. Treat every person with dignity, no matter who they seem to be. Caleb took her words to heart. He requested a transfer to memorial services, taking a pay cut to guide visitors. A year later, he was a changed man, sharing the stories of the fallen with reverence. Eleanor didn't just serve presidents, he'd say. She taught me that respect is about seeing everyone's worth. Eleanor's final words lingered. I didn't use my clearance to punish Caleb. I used it to teach. The greatest honor we give our heroes is remembering that sacrifice comes in many forms, often from those who never seek the spotlight. So what do you think? Was Eleanor too soft on Caleb, letting him off with a lesson when he humiliated her in front of millions? Or was her mercy the ultimate show of strength? Should Caleb's career have been destroyed, or does his redemption prove people can change? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button if this story hit you hard, and subscribe for more real-life dramas that make you question everything. What would you have done in Eleanor's shoes?